Hey kids, this is lesson 14 in module 4 and it's more fun with multiplying fractions. Good stuff today, so let's check out the notes before we get started. So lesson 14 is about multiplying unit fractions by non-unit fractions, which means one of the fractions will not have a 1 as a numerator. And so when you make your fraction model, which is sort of like a taller tape diagram, we're going to be doing the crisscrossing again to show both sides so that when we get the total number of pieces, the new numerator, or the answer to your multiplication problem, is going to show where the double crisscrossing is out of all the pieces. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the lesson 13 video so you can kind of see the introduction of it. But let's get started with some of these word problems. I'll talk you through it. If Jan had 3/5 pan of crispy rice treats, it's going to be CRT because they do that a lot in these introductory problems. So if she has 3/5, it means that your vertical shading is going to be 3 out of 5 parts. There will be 5 sections, 3 of them shaded. That's why this is what she has. Now she sent 1/3 of the treats. Now she only has 3/5, so 1/3 of them go to school. What fraction of the treats go to school? So again, if you take the treats and put it into now 3 sections, and I always go all the way across so I can get that total number of pieces, so I encourage you to go all the way across, make the 3 sections but only shade 1, go the opposite direction with your shading so that you can find the double crisscross area. That's what this is all about, is finding the double shaded or double crisscross area in your model. Let's look at a couple more sample problems. Oh, and by the way, remember that multiplying fractions is really just multiplying straight across. If I have 1/3 of 3/5, remember that of means multiply. You're just going to go straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. Straight across, 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, and so when in doubt, if all else fails, if you forget everything else, just multiply straight across the top and the bottom, okay? If you get something that can be simplified and you know how to simplify, please do it. Most of the questions will say put your answer in simplest form at some point in all these big tests that are coming your way. So get used to simplifying if you can. If you can't, just at least get to this one. So here's another one. Jan has 4/5 pan of crispy rice treats. She sends half of that to school, blah, blah, blah. Same type of thing. Here our model looks a little different because we have 4 pieces out of 5 that are shaded this time, and then half of that. Now remember, the order of your fractions does matter a little bit on here. Yes, you'll get the same answer, but there will be some word problems that will say, well, what comes first, because you're taking the piece of that, and what is the whole here? And so you have to know that the whole, or the only thing that she has in the beginning, would be the 4/5. So look for this. This is very key. She has that, and then we're sending half of that to school. And so again, multiplying across, and then getting something that could be simplified. If you realize you can cross-cancel before you start, that shuffling the 2 and the 5 using the commutative property would give you 4/2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. That's why this works with the simplifying method. Last warm-up problem before we jump in the book. 3/4 of 1/2. First you have the half, then you're going to take 3/4 of it, 4 sections across, shading the opposite direction for 3 of them. And again, multiply across, and this one doesn't have any simplifying before you start, so you end up with 3/8. The last one, if I have Mr. Becker and using 3/5 of his kickballs in class, half of the remaining, this is going to be important today, balls are given to students for recess. Instead of the fraction in the problem, they just want you to note that this is what's splitting our model. So if I have my model in 5 pieces, 3 of them are going to the PE, but then it was half the remaining balls are given to students for recess. The remaining ones are the ones that are supposed to get the right slash, and then the half of that would get the left slash. So going to try to do all of our slashing correctly today. Oh, this is another way if you use a tape diagram and you have all the kickballs and then there are 5/5, 3 of them would go to, that's what is for the class, for PE, and then this is, again, another way of looking at it. So half of 2/5 right here, and then simplifying first half of 2/5, move the 2 over here, get 1, and then you end up with 1/5. So I hope that's clear. I feel like I'm just buzzing through these notes today, but by the time you get to lesson 14, you should kind of know a little bit about what you're doing. So I hope those are good and helpful for you. All right, let's get started. So we're going to solve. Yep, got to have an answer. You're going to draw a rectangular fraction model. You will write a number sentence. An example has been done for you. Thank goodness. You can see what it should look like. This is the drawing model. This is the number sentence that they want. And here's the example of what we're starting with, because they always give you lots of things that are kind of redundant. Here are some fourths. Here are some fourths. Watch out for the equal signs. That's not a 1. It's just saying, hey, look, here's this. So 1/3 of 3/4, or let's take a quick look at the sample. Sorry. 1/2 of 2/5 equals 1/2 of 2/5. Yep, that is the exact same thing, but they're just showing you in words. So if I have half of 2/5, then the 2/5 are shaded first. That's the right slash. Okay. And then the half of it is going to be the left slash. And really what we're interested in only is the double crisscross, which you can't see because it's too dark. And that's the problem with the book, is they do the double shading. Okay. But how many pieces do you end up with? Well, what do we start with? We start with the 2/5. Remember, this part here is going to be the what we have. Then we're going to take this. This is what we're taking. This of that. Multiply across, and simplify. What they don't show you here is 2/10 is being divided by 2 halves. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And so if you don't know how they simplify, that's how you simplify and get that 1/5. Okay? So now let's jump into our real problem for A. 1/3 of 3/4. Okay, so we have 3/4. So vertical division here, divide your sections, slash it out to the right, or leaning to the right, and it's 3 of them. Okay, so 3/4 is what we have. Now we're going to take 1/3 of the 3/4. So you need to have your 3 here, because we're showing that we understand the numerator is how many pieces of the fourths. Then how many fourths, or what will be my equivalent answer when I take the third? So let's find out. So if I take 1/3 of them, and I have my opposite side slash, okay, and then I write my number sentence, 1/3 of 3/4. If you multiply all the way across and across, you'll get 3/12. So if you use like different colored pens, and you have your right side slashing, I think I used pink on my lesson 13 video, and you use a different color to do your opposite side slashing. Now this is only pink here, and this is only green, but the part where they crisscross is going to be this double section, okay, where there are 3 boxes shaded out of a total of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4, 8, 12. So that's what the fraction means. Now, why does it say fourths? Well, it says fourths because you can simplify. So if you end up with 3/12, what is a number that would divide evenly into both 3 and 12? And that would be 3. Now, whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. And so that's where we're getting this simplified answer, 1/4. What if I didn't want to do this whole big thing and I just went, okay, 1/3 times 3/4, and I put the 1 times 3 on the top, and then I go, I see that I can cross cancel, so I just use the commutative property here. This is where you can do your cross canceling before you start, okay? So 3 divided by 3 is 1, or 3/3 is equal to 1, and then you're just left with 1/4 right from the beginning. So that's kind of where we're going with all the simplifying, is that they really want you to get the simplified answer and not end up with just the 3/12 that you can see when you multiply. Okay? I know some of you guys are like scratching your heads going, nope, I don't see it, and I am not okay. Anyway, let's try some more, and you'll get used to it. You really will. Okay, half of 4/5. So we've got 5 sections because the denominator tells us this is what you have. It's the second fraction. This is what you have first, vertical. So 5 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have 4 of them shaded. So if you want to just see the pen color this time, if it's too confusing. I always scare myself with pens. I'm like, what if I make a mistake? Okay, and then we're going to take half of that. So use your pencil to create half and get your other color if you have access to one. And then opposite shade the other way. Number sentence. Half of 4/5. Now, before we do all that straight multiplying across, because if I do 1 times 4 and get 4 and 2 times 5, I will get 10, and that's not what they want you to get. They want you to see that you can set this up with 1 times 4 on the top and then 2 times 5 on the bottom, but I want to use the commutative property and switch those around so that I will end up with something that I can divide and simplify. So 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. So what you end up with is 1 times 2 over 5. And I think I'm going to rewrite that down here. 1 times 2 over 5, and then you end up with 2/5. Now, when you look at this, you might be thinking, I see the 4/10, but I don't see the 2/5. So let me fill in the blanks. So half of 4/5 equals half of 4/5 equals 2/5 for your fill in the blank. Now let me get my pen, and I'll show you where the fifths are. Okay, so if I have 2, that is my answer of fifths. Here's one of them, and here's the other. 1, 2. So where are all the others? Well, 3, 4, and then this one is the 5th one. Now, can I have it the tall way instead of the next to each other? Of course you can. Each one of these is the same size. So I can have one here and one here. I could have one here and one here. But because this is where the double shading is, I just went, okay, one here, one here. So those are the 2 that are double crisscrossed. And then these are the other ones that make up the total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's where you're getting this in the simplest form. This answer here would be the 4/10, which is equivalent to that, but it's not the simplest form. Okay, that's a lot of information, but it's really important. So let's keep up. I know you can do it. Let's make a model here. Oh, and when we have 2 halves, we have halves, but we don't just have 1 half, we have both halves. So we have 2 halves. We have the whole thing. And we're going to take half of that. So if you have, and notice that they dropped off all this other, I almost said garbage, all this other stuff, because sometimes it's just so much and confusing for the poor children. So 1/2 of 2 halves. So check it out. This is, again, the cross canceling. 2 halves is equal to 1. I don't even have to use the commutative property to show that this is 1. So now I end up with 1/2. So, but I got to do my shading. So half of that, okay, half of it is shaded. 2 pieces out of 4. Let's take our 1/2 times our 2 halves and see what happens. Oh, look, it's 2 out of 4. That's all the pieces. But if I wanted to show the double shading, that's 2 out of 4, but it's also equal to half. Okay, now you guys know Miss Setness's rules of simplifying. That is rule 1, doubles. They're all equal to 1/2. 2 out of 4 pieces, it's doubled on the bottom. They're all equal to 1/2. Let's move on. 2/3 of 1/2. I have a half, and I want 2/3 of it. Make it 3 sections, and I need 2. I also need a multiplication sentence, 2/3 of 1/2. Notice that if you use the commutative property, 2 times 1 over, let's swap. 2 halves becomes 1, and then I end up with 1/3. Again, we want the simplest form. I can't even see it. It's all smashed and off the page. Okay, so 2/3 of 1/2. If you were to multiply straight across, you would get 2/6, which is how many you see here. But when you make your bigger picture, okay, then I have 1 out of 3 parts. See? 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces. That's why it's equivalent. Okay, let's do another one. It's really awkward today. This book is just, I know, it's this big fat edge here. Okay, 1/2 of 3/5. So we're going to make our model. And again, it's the second one that you make your picture of, 3/5. So I need 5 parts. They're almost the same. And then I have 3 shaded to the right. Half of it, so cut in half, do left shading. Okay, how many are, we know it's going to be 3. We know that I have 10 pieces total, but is there any way I can simplify? Look at how the numbers are connected. When I do 1 over 2 times 3 over 5, I want to think about, if I shuffle these, will I have something to simplify? And the answer on this one is no, because there's no way I can simplify 3 and 10. There's no number that divides evenly into both. So 3/10 is your final answer for this fraction. Last one on the front, 2/3 of 1/4. Make your model. Cut it in half, half the left, half the right, 1/4. Then I have 2 out of 3 sections that are shaded, shade 2. That's what the numerator says. Okay. Write your multiplication sentence, your number sentence, 2/3 times 1/4. Notice that 2 and 4 are compatible, so set it up again, but use the commutative property to switcheroo, and then see that 2/4 is equal to 1/2, or they're both divisible by 2. So if I did 2 divided by 2, I'd get 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I get 1/2. Now 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 3 is 6. So my simplest form answer is 1/6, all squeezed in there on the edge. And you might again say, well, there are more than 6 parts. There are 12 pieces. So, and 2 of them are double shaded. Yes, but if you take 2 as a unit, then you can say if that's a unit, that's 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, 5 units, 6 units. And there it is. I've got my 6 units, and 1 of them is double shaded. Okay? It's all crooked, just in time for me to turn the page. All right, on the back. 5/8 of the songs on Harrison's music player are hip hop. 5/8 are hip hop. We're going to label carefully on word problems. 1/3 of the remaining, watch out. Okay, if 5/8 are hip hop and they're interested in the remaining, the shading is going to matter here. Are rhythm and blues. What fraction of all the songs are rhythm and blues? Use a tape diagram to solve. So this one, instead of having the 5/8 shaded, and they give you this fraction right away, let's make our box. We're going to divide it into 8 sections. There's your 4, and then, wow, these are going to be skinny. So sorry. Okay, there are the 8. Now, 5/8, don't get all excited about shading 5/8 because the remaining is what we need to shade. Okay, just like in the warm-up, if 5/8 plus 3/8 make the 8/8 for all the songs, okay, and this is hip-hop here, okay, but we're not interested in the hip-hop. We just want to label it. We're interested in the remaining, the 1/3 of the remaining. Okay, so these are remaining. There we go. So these are the remaining ones, and I need 1/3 of those. So now here's where you can make your thirds, and I only need 1 section to be double or left side shaded. And again, this shading doesn't matter. This shading doesn't matter. Only this does. So if I have, I'm going to do my multiplication sentence. What is it? It's 1/3 of what? It's 1/3 of how many? So that's going to be 3/8. 1/3 of 3/8. This is 1, 2, 3. These are the 5/8. These are the 3/8. So I need 1/3 of 3/8. Now here's where you can say, okay, I've got 3 out of 24, and I see that. Or you can do 1/3 of 3/8. See that the 3's are compatible and do the cross canceling here like that, where you would get 1/8, and that's the size of this is 1 out of 8 pieces. So if you had 3, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8. Okay, so you can do that. But the what fraction of all songs are rhythm and blues, you would end up labeling with 1/8 of all the songs are R and B. There we go. Heart. Love that. Okay. So I hope that's helpful. I hope these videos are helpful. Please click subscribe and come back again, and we'll do more math together. Let's do another one for now. 3/5, word form of a fraction. Of the students in a room are girls. Okay. 1/3 of the girls. So what does that mean? How many, if we have 5/5 and that makes all the students, then the others are the 2/5 are boys. Just thinking about things and putting whole things together, okay, because that will help you. 1/3 of the girls have blonde hair. 1/2 of the boys have brown hair. So now we have 2 questions. What fraction of all the students are girls with blonde hair? So let's make a tape diagram. Let's do actually a tape diagram this time. And we're going to make fifths. Oh, that might be too small. 3, no, actually turned out okay. Okay, so 3/5 of the students in a room are girls. Let's just label the 3 as girls, and therefore these are the boys. It's going to help you to see this when you put your fractions together. Okay, 1/3 of the girls have blonde hair. So there are 3/3 of the students are girls. So one of them are students with blonde hair. Not one student, but one section. Okay, and they spell blonde B-L-O-N-D. I usually like to have the E there, but anyway, whatever, it's all good. Okay, so these are 1/3 of the girls have blonde hair. 1/2 of the boys have brown hair. Now, if there are only 2 sections, then 1 out of the 2 would be the boys with the brown hair. Okay, so what fraction of all the students are girls with blonde hair? So what fraction of all the students, okay, so all the students are fifths. What fraction of all the students are girls with blonde hair? Now, you can see it. You can see it because you made a nice tape diagram. So 1/5 of the students are girls with blonde hair. Okay, and so that is the 1/3 of 3/5. And again, you set that up 1 times 3 over 3 times 5, and then you go, oh gee, I can cross cancel these for 1 and 1, and then you end up with 1/5. That's the math way, or you can just look at your tape diagram. So that works too. So this is your answer for A, but we're all set up for B too. What fraction of all the students are boys without brown hair? If this is the brown, because half of the boys have brown hair, then what fraction of all the students are the boys without the brown hair? And that's going to be this section here, which again is just one piece. And so we know that it's 1/5 of all the students are boys without brown hair, same as the amount of students with brown hair for the boys. Okay, but mathematically, 1/5 of all the students, okay, and again, this is a multiplication sign, so cross cancel, and you're left with 1/5. So I hope you can see that. Again, it's really helpful to see it with the tape diagram. Let's move this up. Last one. Cody and Sam mowed the yard on Saturday. Dad told Cody to mow 1/4 of the yard. Okay, Cody, 1/4. He told Sam to mow 1/3 of the remainder. Very important there, 1/3 of the remainder. Dad then paid each of the boys an equal amount. Sam said, Dad, that's not fair. I had to mow 1/3 and Cody only mowed 1/4. Or did he? Nope, he's leaving something out. Go back and reread it. Explain to Sam the error in his thinking. Draw a picture to support your reasoning. So first let's draw what happens. We have the whole yard. Okay, and Dad says, hey Cody, mow 1/4 of it. So make fourths. And here's Cody. Oops. Make a capital C there. I was telling everybody, capitalize names. So here's Cody with his 1/4. Now he tells Sam to mow 1/3 of what? Not 1/3 of the yard. 1/3 of the remainder. What is the remainder? Okay. The remainder is 3/4. So 1/3 of 3/4 is actually what Sam is going to mow. So multiply that. Okay, if you want to write it out, it's going to be 1 times 3 over 3 times 4. What do you notice? You notice that there are 2 3's here. And so we can cross cancel because I could shift these around. It would be 3/3, which is equal to 1. Or you can just leave it and not have to rewrite it and do 3 divided by 3 is 1, 3 divided by 3 is 1, 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 4 is 4, and Sam complaining for no reason, or Cody complaining for no reason. Okay, so Sam says, Sam is the complainer, but look, Sam mowed 1/4 and Cody mowed 1/4. So what happened? They both mowed the same amount. Okay? And so Sam only was looking at the fraction instead of taking the fraction of the remainder. Okay? So Sam needs to take a fraction of the remainder. Okay? Not just the 1/3. And if you do that and you get all that down, you should hopefully know how to multiply these fractions and multiply unit fractions by non-unit fractions. Wha-bam! You're a pro. All right, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.